Women Today on Manx Radio. It's 19 minutes to 3. Just quickly want to talk about parking. Now, I'm not one to try and, make people get angry or anything like that. I know lots of people have very strong views on parking, those that think they're brilliant at it, those who hate doing it, and those like me who can occasionally parallel park like a dream and take photographic evidence, and then other times can't get enough space that could fit 3 double-decker buses. But the reason we're talking about this is because Ben and I watched a programme on Channel 5. What was it called? Britain's Parking Hell. Yeah, that's why Ben remembered it. Hell was a bit of a naughty word. But one of the things, Stu and Gregor, that it raised in there was how inconsiderate people can be sometimes by parking up on curbs. Mm-hmm. Because, parking is difficult now. Spaces are at a premium. But for people with any sort of disability, if they're in a wheelchair or if they have a visual impairment, it's just a nightmare.
It is, and even, mothers with prams or people on crutches, kind of the trouble is, when I was walking along with a cane, it wasn't too bad because I can kind of fold myself in and kind of, sidestep along the parked car if it's right up to the wall. With Angel, I don't get that luxury. So when I'm walking along with a guide dog, if there's a car parked on the curb in front of us, we then have to do what's called an off-curb manoeuvre, and we then have to step into the road to go around the car. 9 times out of 10, I'll just turn around and walk down a different street because the Isle of Man, kind of the roads are so closely knitted together that it's quite easy to do that in Peel. You just detour. When I'm in England, it's an absolute nightmare, and I just wait there and kind of wait until somebody is around because I don't want to try it in England. One of the spots that I find most difficult is actually just outside the Isle of Man Bank in Peel. There's a small drop curb there with tactile paving, double yellow lines as far as I understand, just outside the cash point, and it's very, very kind of, it's one of those places that is prolific for this. I'll come around the corner at Cowley's and there'll be somebody parked right across the double yellow lines just in front of the drop curb. Now, that's somewhere that's specifically designed to let people like myself with a visual impairment, with the tactile pavings, people who use a wheelchair so that they can get down off a curb, it's specifically designed to let them cross the road. So to park there, it's an absolute nightmare because I don't want to cross on the corner because you've got Derby Road going into Christian Street, going down to Athol Place. You've also got Athol Street coming through. There's so much traffic. It really, really annoys me.
How typical would you say this is, Dave? And how much of an issue?
Unfortunately, very typical. We've ran quite a few campaigns over the years to try and highlight the difficulties that this causes. Now, look, we've probably all done it. I've done it myself in the past. I'm only going to be 2 minutes. I'll pop it on the curb. But when you actually think about the problems that can cause, as Duan mentioned, guide dog users, someone who's a wheelchair user, someone with mobility issues, it's incredibly difficult. Also, one of the problems we have is if somebody has parked, say a wagon's parked on the curb because they're working on a hedge or whatever, quite often what they'll do is they'll go and put a couple of cones around the side. Now, they're actually more of a hazard than a help, because if you can't see them there because you're visually impaired, that could actually cause you to fall into the road. So it's about thinking, well, okay, do I have to park on the curb? Generally, no. Okay, even if you have to park right next to the curb and cause an obstruction to other road users, it's better than causing a much more dangerous obstruction to a pedestrian. So it's about thinking, okay, well, if I have to do this here, how can I make it safe?
And it's that awareness raising, which is
Absolutely.
just crucial to what you do.
I usually find as well that people have left their engines on. They've nipped out to the cash point and they've got their engine on, or they've nipped out to get Nana out of the house and something like that. And putting a parked car there with an engine is also very tricky for somebody with a visual impairment as well, because hearing takes is a massive part of crossing a road. Angel doesn't cross the road for me. She stops me at the road. I tell her to cross the road. But if we've got a car right next to us with his engine on and I'm trying to listen for cars coming behind him, it doesn't really work. So it's just also if you're only going to be 5 minutes out the car, turn the engine off. Just kind of make life easier.
If you are in that situation, Duan, and somebody sees you and thinks, oh, should I step in and help? What's your sort of advice and guidance for people who think, oh, should I help you across the road or help you do something?
Always come up and ask. Kind of just say, right there, fella, do you need a hand? Kind of that is the primary thing. do you want some help? Because some people might just be stood there tapping away on their phone, having a look at something. Some people might just be passing by, but then there are some people who do need that help, and asking, it doesn't cost anything, and the worst they can say is, "No, I'm all right, I'll just kind of find another way around."
And I think